I don't know if you guys know this or not. I'm the comedian that went on stage after Michael Richards had his meltdown at the Laugh Factory in Hollywood.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
And he doesn't perform there that much. So all the comedians who were supposed to go on now don't even get to do their show.
Right.
He's making all this money and we're sitting back there going, could I just get my $50?
Yeah. Can I, I did a show and the dude was like, well, we don't comp comedians anymore because of COVID. I'm like, really? So you're not only not paying me what I'm worth, you're only feeding the celebrity comedians, and like me, I'm over here like, oh, it's ridiculous.
Well, I like what you said about growing. I'm definitely growing. And of course you have to, as an entertainer. When I first started stand-up comedy, you talk about dating because that's what's going on in your world. Then you get a little older, you talk about maybe marriage and having kids. Now, like Michelle was saying, I'm 59. I talk about, oh, my back is killing me. I sneezed and I broke my calf. I didn't even know you could do that.
I talk about dating there because I'm single, and at this age, it's not cute. It's not cute to be 59 and single. My daughter just got married last weekend. This is her second marriage. I pulled up to the side. I said, look, this is your second marriage. I can't even get a date. Oh, boy, what's going on with me? And go on these dating sites, plenty of fish and those type of sites. All those guys come on there, I'll throw those fish right back. They come on.
And that's hilarious because it's my life now too.
Yeah. And I didn't start till I was 50. So that's what I came in talking about. The only thing I've grown now, I started acting. I've done a couple of web series.
Good.
I've done an independent movie. So I am growing like that. That's my growth is that.
I'd like to stick this out there too. I don't know about you guys, but I always felt that whenever I became part of a film, a TV project, a play, more so than anything, you have instant family.
That's the truth.
It's your family right away. Everybody's closer than close. Takes minutes.
Yeah.
The weirdest, you go to a script reading, I'm like, oh man, I miss you. What? I just met you.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
So we should get Dave. Dave, I think this is the setup for a script, and I'm ready to take the lead. Like, I mean, you need a sexy Black comedian with a big ass, who's beautiful, and who a tarot card and oracle card reader. Then we got Marino and Sherrie and Michelle. This is your cast right here, dude. Get to writing.
I played a bag.
Come on, DL.
Well, inspiration does always come. We could have this conversation and I'll be, it'll be next week and I'll say, oh, that would be an interesting idea. So that stuff does happen. So thanks for starting the fire in my head.
Yeah, let us know when we're filming, so we can get that set up.
I definitely will.
I've been asking a lot of my fellow comedians the same questions because I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I feel like I'm the only one that goes through what I go through. And you get passed on by an agent. A manager doesn't sign you. You beg to play a comedy club. They won't give you the time of day. And then you ask your friends, because I think they got it all and they don't have none of these problems. Then you realize they have the identical problem. I recently had a comedian friend of mine call me. He's been doing it as long as I have, and he's got a pretty big name. He said to me, can you hook me up with the Borgata in Atlantic City? And I said, I haven't done the Borgata in 6 years. I can't get back in. He goes, you're kidding. Didn't you shoot your special there? I'm like, yeah. Yeah, and I did a solo performance 4 summers in a row. A new guy takes over and he says, you got to do 7 shows for $1,500. I'm like, I can't do that. Wow. That would be going backwards.
Yeah.
So I said, no. So he calls me and he says, can you get me in? And I said, I can't. He goes, man, I thought they give you whatever you want. I'm like, they did. The new guy, he don't even take my phone calls.
Wow.
And I go, but weren't you a big shot at the Hard Rock? And he goes, yeah, I sold it out every year. But a new guy took over and he told me flat out, you ain't playing here. I'm like, whoa,
Wow.
what is that? What is that? And you makes you feel like you're the only one that gets that kick in the ass. So when I heard him say it, it doesn't make me feel any better, but it makes you think, okay, and I'm not the only one that gets that.
You know, my wife and I have been watching The Offer. I don't know if you guys have been watching that on Amazon Prime about the making of The Godfather.
Oh,
And it has Robert Evans on it, and it has like all these other, Francis actors playing all these, iconic Hollywood people. And at one point, Al Ruddy, who was the producer, which is played by Miles Teller, who it's really one of the first things I've ever seen him in. I know he's been in a lot, but he's unbelievable. He starts talking about to his assistant how difficult it is to do what we do, creative people, film people, comedians, actors, anybody who's creative. And there's a line where he says something about, if you don't wake up in the morning thinking, and I'm paraphrasing the hell out of this, but if you don't wake up in the morning thinking about it, living it, breathing it, every single rejection, you come back and say, okay, well, what can I do now? You're constantly adjusting and tweaking and trying to, everything's pushing you in this corner and you find a way to slide out of it. And now you're over here. He goes, if you don't understand that, you're just a civilian. And I tend to think of when someone says civilians, like, police, military, people that are doing life and death stuff. But it did resonate with us because I know at this point in time, I started acting first when I was, it was in 95. So I was 21 and I'm now 47. And, what is that? Over a quarter of a century, which is insane. And when I started as an actor, I was like, 6 years, I got this. I'll be up on the big screen. 6 years, maybe 34. We'll see. Maybe I'll go the Harrison Ford route. Didn't happen that way, and everybody that has known me for all those years, except for very few exceptions, they don't ask about anything. They don't ask about film. They don't ask about acting. They don't want to hear about it. If I bring it up, they're shifting it over to something, the conversation to something else. And, it's so a lot of people, my wife and I, we're both working on this. Thank God, or we'd probably be divorced if we weren't both about it. So, but it's like, I think what Mike said is dead on, is that it's so helpful. I mean, I have buddies of mine. One guy, he hadn't made a film. He was a DP on my last film. He's be the DP for the next film. And he hadn't made a movie for a decade. And now I'm coming up on that. By the time I get to make our next film, it'll probably be roughly about a decade, which drives me nuts. But he's now, though, he made a movie in the midst of COVID, and now he has a great producer, and he's about to make another movie in November. And, things change, but it's extremely helpful to be able to talk to him and say, I'm freaking frustrated. Like, why we had this, but this fell through. We had this, but now this is delayed. Oh, now we got a delay, because he gets it, and that's what Mike's talking about, and I think that that's true. It's like, it's helpful to have people that you can connect with and talk to and realize that. And that's exactly the thing I love too. When we first started doing our own stuff, when we decided we were tired of waiting for casting people and whatnot, we started our own film company called Feenix Films. And the idea was, I wanted a group of people that were all different and unique, all working together towards one goal, which was making a project and making film. And the thing that I was astonished with was how you could get people of such different backgrounds and belief systems to all work together towards one thing, which was make that movie, make that project, make it good, make it the best it could be. Hey, I know I told you we're only going to be here till 1 a.m, but we got another couple of hours. And then before you know it, it's 6 and you've been shooting for over 20 hours, and people are like, okay, great. Maybe there's a couple of people that looked at you like they wanted to kill you, but the most people were very, like, yeah, let's just do it. Let's get it right. And when you think about it, we're if you're filming or acting, you're doing pretend, you're pretending. That's really what you do. You're trying to pretend and make reality. And and people are so devoted and loyal to it. And I think it almost goes back to childhood, because as children, you would play for hours. You know, you didn't eat. It was dark out. It was raining. It was thundering and lightning. There was a monsoon coming. You didn't care. You were out there. You'd make it work. There's a swarm of bees coming to attack you. Well, we'll just work that into the story. So, I think it's extremely helpful to have like a group that you can lean on and bounce things off of. Are you feeling it's tough coming up with material, or have the times changed for you? And all of you guys have expressed similar but some different views on the current state of things too. So I just find it to be always very helpful, to have folks that you can kind of lean on. So, I mean, go ahead, Mike, are you gonna say something?
I was gonna say, yeah, you ain't kidding.
Yeah.
You want to lean on me? Call me up. Number.
Yeah, community, and I teach this to my clients all the time. Community is our currency. It is where we get supported, and it is where we can support. And so it's always important to vibe with your soul tribe, people who see the best in you, even when you're not having your best moments. And, whether, I always say, find your eagles, because if you're hanging out with pigeons, that's where you're going to stay. You want to, you're just picking off the shit on the street. You want to connect with its expanders, people who really expand you. Maybe they've been there and done that, or just, there is this consciousness and awareness of where you are and where you want to go, and they can support you in getting there, and you can support them. You can see their blind spots, and they can see yours, and you come together to collaborate in a way that supports both of you all. You can't do, especially as an artist, life in general, as humans, we were not meant to do life alone. And coupling up in community is one of the most powerful investments that you can make in yourself, whether you invest in a coach or you're just in a social community or a spiritual community. But you cannot do life alone, especially as an artist, because we comedians, we go it alone. And it shows in the comedians who have committed suicide, the comedians who have been, drug addicts or dealing with their own demons. When you go it alone, a lot of the results are what has been the results, because if you're alone, you're in your head. I always tell my clients, when you're in your head, you're dead. When you're in your heart, that's where you get a brand new fresh start. So when you're in your head about the world is against me, this movie didn't do well, these managers in this club won't pay me, and like all of this bullshit in your head, you end up doing something that's not healthy for you. But when you're in community, you can talk it out, you can walk it out, you can work it out, and you can create new possibilities when you're with a loving, supportive community and be like, dude, I got your back. I know you didn't get paid this month. We're gonna find a way. We're gonna help you get that rent paid. We're gonna help you eat. I'm gonna send you some resources. That is where you get to be somebody powerful, when you're standing in the face of people who got you. They got you, and we need that.
Thank goodness. I have my community there in New Jersey, but when I moved down here, I didn't move down here because I wanted to. I had no choice. I had to move, so I would be not home. I would be homeless. So when I left, they all came together and they helped me out. Gave me this big send off. I came down here with enough money to help me for a month.
Wow.
And I was depressed. I was sad. My life wasn't going that well. I spent the whole COVID when we were shut in by myself. All my family was down here. So I know what you mean with up in your head. I was in my head. I was feeling bad. And then they would call and check on me, make sure I'm all right. And they're all doing very well. I was almost there when I was in New Jersey. I was doing very well. And then for me to have to come down here and start all over, it's hard, but I'm strong enough that I know I can really do it. So I just call them when I'm feeling down, or If I feel like I want to stop doing comedy, I call them. They're like, nope, don't stop. I got a few close girlfriends that are comedians. They call me, nope, don't stop. You know, keep going. You got a gift. God gave you a gift, and you got to use your gift. And that's true. That's true.
I had an acting teacher that used to say, don't quit when you're 5 minutes away from the miracle.
Mhm.
And, you know, it's been a long 5 minutes, but I think it's like, but you keep thinking that, you know, you're like, well, what, it's a little OCD too, but it's like, well, what if I just wait? What if, because there's been plenty of times, you know, I've thrown my hands up and said, that's it, I'm out, I'm done. This is bullshit. I'm tired of this crap, you know? And then there's that little Magnum PI voice, you know, saying to you, like you used to say in that show. And then I heard that voice and it's like, yeah, well, what if we're almost there? Like, let's look. And I think it's important to look at, you know, some people can't even get up on stage and talk to a room full of, they don't know. It's a big question mark. You know, I thought about doing it a long time ago. And I was like, no friggin' way. I'll go up on stage and act because I feel like I have a control that stand-ups just, you know, you guys go out there and it's like, so I think the fact that, you know, Michelle, you even went up there as accomplishment. It's important to keep looking at, you know, what your accomplishments are and then building on those and saying like, all right, maybe I'm not here, but I can't tell you how many people never even got up there.
Yeah.
They're still talking about doing it. You know, I was all pissed about a couple of months ago. We had something fall through for a casting and then I'm there. My wife, we're looking at Paramount Plus, and my wife is going through it, and she goes, you know, look at that. There's our movie. You know, we have a movie on Paramount Plus. You know, does anybody else that we went to class with have that?
Congratulations, Tim.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. But I say it simply because I wasn't taking any stock. I was just focusing on the fact that I didn't have what I wanted or what I felt I should have yet. But I wasn't taking into account any of the other stuff that we did and the teams that I had assembled did and the teams that all worked together accomplished, because there was a lot of people that said we couldn't even do that, you know? And that's one of the things I find so inspiring about this show, The Offer, and the story about making The Godfather, which I was never even aware of it, is that this was basically an independent movie. Everyone worked for scale, including Brando. And they were constantly, people were trying to shut them down the entire shoot. You know, Francis Ford Coppola was about to have I think they said a nervous breakdown because every day he walked on. Al Pacino was freaking out because they wanted to recast him with, I think, Robert Redford. That's like insane. But, you know, they just kept going with it. And you find that inspiring because even something like that, all those trials and tribulations, like Michelle, what you experienced, you don't know what the hell that's going to feed you, you know, and that's growth. To go back to what we started talking about in the beginning, you know, that's growth. Those all those times we fall down and get back up, those make us who we are. And, you know, we have to fall down because if you don't, I mean, that's not life. You know, you're only you're not experiencing duality. You're just experiencing one thing. And that's not, as far as I know, that's not what this existence is. You know, but
nice to hear that story about The Godfather, because when you watch it, you think, well, they probably had no problems. They had a great budget. They made the greatest movie. They must have had so much fun making it. Yeah. And now you hear that it was a tough thing to do.
Now, Mike, they had Joe Colombo was doing, you know, shit, and Al Ruddy befriended him. And then suddenly found that he was now in the mafia, and he was like, you know, how the hell did this happen? You know, and it just was, there's 3 separate stories going on, all the craziness of production, the executives, all the real creative people, and then the mafia and how all this stuff, because they didn't want him to make the film, and Sinatra was against it because he didn't like how the one character was portrayed. He was like, they're making me look like a putz, you know, or that's supposed to be me. So there were so many things going on. And at the end of the day, it was like the most successful independent movie of all time. Independent with, you know, the backing of a genius and Robert Evans and, you know, Paramount Pictures being behind it too. But, you know, but it's that thing where you just got to keep going. And, you know, I'm sure you guys have all experienced that feeling when you're about to get up or do something and you're just like, I don't know, you know, am I going to do this again? I'm going to get up on this stage again and look at those lights and, you know, try to get these people to laugh. And are they going to laugh? Are they going to get pissed off? Are they going to, you know, I saw that one thing you did, Mike, where you're like, hey, people, this is funny stuff. I'll wait. I'll wait until you start getting it, you know? And I told you that was ballsy because you called them out. I thought that was awesome because you literally took the whole audience by the balls and was like, I know this is funny. Start fucking laughing. And by the end of it, they started laughing, you know, because they got it and they respected you and you turned the crowd, which I thought was awesome. The fact that you were able to do that.
Sometimes you can actually out clever yourself. So I stop and I say, I'll wait right there, people, because that is genius. And then they do. Actually, that's why I started saying, let it marinate. Is it there yet? Okay, now eat it.
Yeah.
You know, when I was 18 years old, all I wanted to be was an actor. I've been wanting to be an actor since I'm a little kid. I've been in Screen Actors Guild since I'm 13 years old. I collect memorabilia. I have everything that I've ever done from 12 on up. But when I was 18, it was, am I going to go work for dad in the construction business or am I going to keep doing this? So at that time, you were allowed to kind of crash commercial auditions if you knew somebody. But there was so many blonde, blue-eyed kids going to auditions all around New York City. And I was 5'6" and I had blonde hair and blue eyes. So I went to this audition for this commercial for United Airlines. And I put down any old agent and I went in there. A week later, I had an interview with an agency and the lady said to me, who are you and why are you in my office? You sound like a dummy from New Jersey.
Whoa.
And I says, I crashed this commercial audition and they told me that I needed to come and see you because I put your name down. And she goes, don't ever do that again. You're not our client. You're not going to be our client. Do you hear yourself?
Wow.
And I remember going, no, what's wrong with my speech? You sound like a dummy from New Jersey. I'm like, we're in New York. But I never even understood the difference in the speech because I started taking speech. So I went home crying. I thought, this is it. This lady hates me. Well, I get a phone call. You got to call back. You got to go see this thing. And I went back. Long story short, #1 TV commercial for 5 years, nominated for Clio, Best Male Performer in a TV commercial, signed across the board for that agency for 5 years, not with that lady, but the head of the office, J. Michael Bloom. So I really wanted to go in there and go, why would you talk to anybody like that?
They hate
You hear
themselves.
yourself? I sound like a dummy?
Yeah.
Miss, how is somebody not picking you up and throwing you out the fucking window?
Yeah.
What a nasty thing to do.
Yeah. Well, I think that's like the big, that was one of the things that made me want to start doing my own stuff is I dealt with so many rude casting directors and so many like rotten agents. I still remember this one time, I think she moved out of casting and she's doing one of those fraudulent meet and greet places. Fucking things, man. Oh my God. It's like, I literally just want to become a district attorney to shut those things down. But it's just so ridiculous. So she was this casting person and then she would do these like how to auditions. And I thought to myself, well, this woman hates me because every time I audition for her, she shits all over me. So who else to go to do an audition class to see? I'm going to go to someone who's the ultra picky. So I did this class. She hated everything I did. At the end, an agent came in. He, of course, left. He was actually a nice guy. He came in. I'd met him a couple of times. He loved me, wanted to represent me. She then tried to talk him out of it while I was sitting there and saying, you want to represent him? You want to represent David? And I'm like, the fuck? Do I have like a tail growing out of my nostril? Like, why the hell wouldn't you want, like, I don't get it. And he's like, Dave is the best guy that I saw here. He goes, yeah, I want to represent him. She goes, but during this one thing, he didn't do such and such. And he was like, no, he did. And I like what I saw. I want to represent him. And I just remember I looked at her and I just wanted to go give her the finger and say like, yep. And it was great because she didn't want me to succeed. I worked with him for a little while. He then, of course, left. And then the guy, I forgot who the agent was, but the guy like didn't even know he had an agency. He'd like been in the business forever. I think he like repped Jack Nicholson when Nicholson first started. And no clue. Like, he was like, oh yeah, so-and-so, I don't remember his name, really wants to meet you. He, yeah, da, 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 da. I went in and met the guy and he's staring at me like, why are you in my office? And I was like, well, you said that I don't know, whatever. But that type of shit though, that rudeness, is just, I feel like it's unacceptable. And it's just like that bad behavior. And it's crazy because I used to just feel that bad behavior was in our industry, although it's everywhere. And, but then you feel like it's kind of leaking out into the world too, where there's just like no accountability, and I think that's the biggest problem with our industry is that there's a lot of times there's no accountability. Casting directors feel like they can do whatever they want. Agents, managers, we all saw it with Weinstein, and he's just a big name that got jammed, you know
what I would like? I would like happy healer classes, what you were talking about, because here's my problem in my world. I always say, if I could get these shows lined up, I'll be happy. And then you get them and it's not enough. Why did I get that? I should get that. And then you get it. And like, wait a minute. Why am I getting that? I should have this. Wait a minute. How come I only got this? I should be this. And I swear when the pandemic hit, I said to myself, if I just do cruise ships the rest of my life, I'll be happy. Now I got so many cruise ships, I'm calling going, I don't want to go. And today I booked a private event. So as soon as I got the private event, it's on a Saturday. I immediately call a nightclub in the area and I go, do you have Friday night open? He goes, yeah, what do you want? I go, let's do a door deal at your theater. So I racked out an unbelievable amount of money in an hour on the phone because I do what I do. And I immediately went, how come I'm only getting that? And how come they called me? Why didn't they call my agent? How come my agent didn't get me that job? Shouldn't I be working on a movie? And God forbid I ever tell any other comedian that I did what I did. They're like, how'd you do that? I'm like, because I've been doing this a long time. But to me, it's not enough. Why am I here? I want to be here. And I think I have a problem because if I ever got here, I'm probably going to say, I can't believe I'm only here. I should be here.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it ever ends.
This day.
I don't think that ever ends, though. I think that desire to always push and push and push is just a part of, I don't know if everybody feels it, but I think a lot of people in the creative industry does.
There's got to be a way to be thankful for just what you do have. Yeah. Because if you don't, you'll end up like me. You start getting angry at things. And I don't have a vice. I don't do drugs. I don't have an ex-wife taking my money. I don't have kids. I'm happy. I got a place on both coasts. I should be thrilled, but I'm not. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. How come I only get recognized once in a while? How about why not every day? And how come I didn't shoot another special? And how come I can't get back in the Borgata? And that could torture your soul.
Well, and it's literally because you're in that, you don't see yourself as being enough. This is very simple that you can transform this. You are not enough. From your childhood, there's this sentence from your life that keeps saying you're not enough. And in order for you to make that voice a liar, you keep going after what you want, you get it, but it never feels like enough because you're still viewing yourself as that kid who did not think he was enough. Whatever situation or whatever that incident was that had you, it always goes back to our inner child. So there's this not enoughness, and anxiety or this wounding, this childhood wounding that you're not enough. So you keep going after it and it's not enough. And you're amazing. Like you're ahead of the crowd. Most people have to start from the bottom. You already just said, I know this thing about me, which lets me know you are super intuitive and super aware. But now it's time to get committed to transforming that thinking. Now, of course, you're successful. Like you said, I got a place on both coasts, blah, 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 blah. I'm all that in a bag of chips, but not inside because you still think you're not enough. So you can decide, right? You can decide, you know what, I want to be enough. And having all this money and all of these opportunities, now I really want to share this experience with a counterpart. Like I really am ready. I don't feel like I'm enough for this human being that I want to share my life with. It's time for love. And when you really get flat on, I'm worthy, I'm enough, and you're ready for that love, because I'm going to be honest, that's what I feel that's calling you, or that you're not opening up to, then that's when you do the real work, because you're successful because of your personality and your track record. But that's all the outside. What needs you is the inside of you. It's just very simple. And when you're ready to do that work, call me. Need someone to talk to.
I'm ready. Where's your book? Where's the class? Help a brother.
I'm going to give you my information through Dave. He'll send it to you. Love your energy. And I'm just, Dave, I appreciate you, and Michelle and Sherrie. I really wish us so much success. I really do, because it is challenging. But I really believe in us. I believe that we can still do what we want to do in the way that we want to do it, especially when we're not attached to the way it used to be. And Mike, you just talked about how long you've been in the industry and you are very successful, but you've had to do some different things. So now with YouTube, now with all of these social media platforms, now with artists getting deals with Netflix and all of these opportunities, I submitted 3 scripts to a department in NBC not too long ago. So I'm not attached to the results, but just doing the work to expand. Because if you're sitting down waiting on to be successful and make a lot of money in clubs, it's just not going to happen. You have to be open to doing, voiceovers and traveling and teaching. I teach. And so you got to be open to ways of generating income as an artist, because it's just not going to happen the way it happened for Chappelle or Chris Rock or Seinfeld, who never had a job in his life. But it's that, there's no one way or right road to a comedian. You just have to be super creative and to open up to do podcasts with other comedians, to collaborate, to do web series and work on different shows. That's what it's about, collaboration and community. That is the way. Somebody see your work. Somebody be like, oh, Mike, hire this person. She's great. She's an actress. She got what you need. And people remember who you put in place in there. And then money comes along. I've brokered deals before and gotten paid. Haven't did anything, but bringing these 2 people together, I was given a piece of the pie. So it's always important to open up to different ways, different sources of income as an entertainer.
Well, I'd like to have all you guys on my podcast. I do have one every Tuesday night. It's called Live from My Mother's Basement.
Love it.
It's old school, and I think we'll have a lot of fun.
All right. I want to thank all of you guys for coming on, and it was awesome. It was a very great conversation. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you.
For having me.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, Dave.
Bye-bye.